Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 100th video on the channel. Thank you so much for all the support you've given us so far. It's been quite the YouTube journey to this point. We are, I think, just over 3 months into it. We started in September and now we're here. Please spread the word about the channel. You know, if you're enjoying it quite a bit, share it with your friends and family and have them subscribe to the channel so they can see all our cool content. Thank you so much for making us have the ambition to want to do this for you every day. We really enjoy the fact that you guys are enjoying the content. So please spread the word. Thank you so much for all your support. And our 100th video is the season finale podcast of The Mandalorian Season 2. Enjoy, everybody. Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another video. In today's video, we got the final podcast episode of The Mandalorian Season 2. It did not disappoint, to say the least, and part of my prediction was correct. So stay tuned to figure out what part it was that was correct, and we're going to dive right into the episode. So this episode started off really quick, like it was straight to the action. We open up with our crew chasing after a Lambda shuttle, which we all know like is the same thing as a shuttle Tydirian from episode 6. And they're chasing down the cloner guy that we saw in season 1. We also saw him on that little hologram when they went through the Imperial base in this season. And they're chasing him down, and they eventually board their shuttle. And Mando or I shouldn't say Mando, he doesn't come out till a little later, I think. There's a couple of them that come out first, and then there's the Mandalorian that comes out, and there's 2 Imperials left with the, I think they call him a clone engineer, was his official title. Yeah, so there was 2 Imperials, and one of them was holding the clone engineer hostage. And it was kind of funny because the one that wasn't holding the engineer, he was like basically trying to
Save his skin.
Yeah, he was saving his skin. He was basically like, I'm out for the Empire. And the other Imperial was like, oh no. And then he shoots him in the back, just kills him. And then we get like this back and forth between the Imperial soldier and Cara Dune, because he recognizes her. He's like, basically, hey, I saw your home blow up on the Death Star, blah, 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 and was really trying to antagonize her to potentially shoot him and maybe possibly kill the cloner in the process. But she's accurate. She did her job well.
Yeah, I don't know. As the episode progressed, I kept waiting for them to do something more with that clone engineer, but really all they used him for was in the beginning, to kind of go over Moff Gideon's ship and where everything is and where these what are those extra troopers called? Do you know?
The Dark Troopers?
Yeah, where the dark troopers are and how to disarm them and stuff like that. But after that, he really wasn't used the whole rest of the episode.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that they were going to talk a little bit more about what he's doing with the blood or something. But yeah, so we didn't really get much from the cloner besides how do they infiltrate the ship, and that's about it. So the plan that they come up with is they want Boba to basically look like he's chasing them in this shuttle and he's trying to kill them by blasting at them. And they're going to basically come into the Imperial ship and say like, hey, we're under attack. Open up the landing bay, basically, so they can zoom right in. And they started off, it starts looking pretty well. The Empire actually releases a couple of TIE fighters to try to take out Boba's ship because they fell for the fact that, you know, this could be their crew. And eventually we do crash land into the ship. It's a very, very small opening. I don't think the shuttle Lambda fit perfectly in there. I think it might have caught the top of it, but it did have to do a crash landing.
Yeah, so they made it on there, and At first, I wasn't sure if they were even going to be able to get in there because they weren't wanting to open the shuttle bay. They were basically just saying, like, fight them off. And that obviously was not the plan. But somehow they made it in there, and Mando kind of stayed behind on the ship and waited for everybody else to clear out all the troopers. And then once the area was clear, then he came out, which I think was not so much that he was trying to avoid the fight, but I think it was just that he didn't want like word to spread that he was there because everybody knows what he's there for. And the clone engineer had told them, like, you might maybe have enough time to get to those dark troopers to disengage them before they turn on, because they draw too much power to keep on the whole time, so they're kind of in like a standby mode. So we know that that's where Mando's going. I actually thought the clone engineer was going to be the one to go turn him off, but nope, he was done for the rest of the episode. Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, and he also confirmed, like we assumed based on the previous episodes that they were droids, but he actually confirmed in this episode, hey, they're droids.
Yep.
So yeah, they start running through the ship and killing basically everybody in sight. We get a couple cool little combat scenes here and there. I think they split up because Bo-Katan and her partner go off one way, and Mando goes the other. And I guess we forgot to mention in the beginning of the episode, Mando actually went with Boba Fett to recruit Bo-Katan and her crew member to go on this mission. So there's that for you.
Just one of the crew members. So it's just Bo and one other person.
Yeah, just the two of them. So yeah, they're going through the ship. They split up, and Bo-Katan and her partner, which I don't remember the name, they're going for the main deck or control room, whatever you want to call it.
They're trying to find Moff Gideon because Bo basically called dibs on taking out Gideon, and of course Cara Dune's like, well, I can't have him die. I need to take him in alive. And we've got I'm gonna blank on her name again. What was her name?
Fennec?
Yes. We've got Fennec there too, and so it's the four ladies kind of on one team, and then Mando's by himself trying to take out these dark troopers, or disengage them before they embark on trying to protect the ship. That way he can get the child, because he's there for the child, but Bo-Katan wants the Darksaber. So there's a lot of fighting going on, a lot of gunslinging. Our heroes are doing pretty good. The Dark Troopers, the timing's pretty tight. One of them gets out before he's able to close off the rest, and he uses one of the doors to the outer space to be able to basically suction out the rest of them so that they can't do anything else on the ship. But he still has one that he's got to fight off on his own, which, I mean, the Dark Trooper at one point is just like trying to pummel Mando by just punching him straight in the face, and it's doing nothing, like 0 damage. It's just one of those like stereotypical nothing. Like nothing.
Yeah, it may rattle his noggin a little bit, but like from the recoil. But but it's not like his helmet's being smashed in or anything. I didn't see a single dent on his helmet. The glass didn't break. Nothing. Yeah, he's like getting his butt whipped. He even tried to incinerate like the insides of this thing, but that didn't help it at all.
Yeah, he winds up being able to take him out by stabbing it through the neck with his spear. If we remember back when he was in the episode with Ahsoka and he got that Vaskar spear, so he uses that to stab the droid in the neck, which he must have hit like some sort of control unit or something, because as we learned, they're not people, so it's not like he choked him out with it. But he must have hit the control system in his neck or something just right to knock him out.
Which is important because, along with not being human, like, you know, if you stab him in the leg or the chest or something, doesn't necessarily kill him. We learned in Revenge of the Sith when Obi-Wan chopped off the head of Grievous' bodyguard, that their control panel was somewhere else. So it's important to be able to actually hit where the source is coming from on those droids. So yeah, he takes out the Dark Trooper, the one that is almost like kicking his butt, and he finds the child. He finds the cell block where the child is being held, but there's someone else in there with him, and that is Moff Gideon. Hashtag Giddy for Gideon. He's in there with a dark saber, and he basically has the dark saber held out in front of the child. And honestly, I kind of believe Gideon at first as well, because Gideon is basically, he tells Mando to drop his weapon, like his gun, and kick it to him, and he does it. And they're kind of going back and forth. Gideon is saying, like, I wanted to study this child. I already have what I wanted from him. I really know that Bo-Katan is with you and she wants the dark saber. Mando is telling him basically he has no interest in the dark saber, so he just wants the kid and get out. And Gideon is basically like, okay, go ahead and take him. And because he was going to go after Bo-Katan. But once Mando went to pick up the child, we know that Gideon started lashing out at him, like swinging the dark saber at Mando, and then their epic duel commenced. It was
Well, he tried to slash him in the back, but his Vaskar steel protected him.
right. Mando remembered, kind of like how we talked about in episode 7. He is so trained to like use his arms and his armor around him to block things, because it didn't work for him in episode 7 when he had the other armor. But this episode, he saw that it worked just like it did against the lightsaber. It deflected. It didn't penetrate from the dark saber. But there's one thing that you pointed out when we were watching the episode that was kind of interesting between the dark saber and the Beskar spear.
Yeah, when we had that episode with Ahsoka, and it was Ahsoka versus the one lady that was in charge, huh?
Magistrate.
Yeah, against the magistrate. Every time the magistrate held up her spear and was kind of using it to block Ahsoka's lightsaber, you didn't see anything happen. Like the lightsaber didn't penetrate through it. The steel didn't look hot. Nothing like that. But every time the dark saber is hitting the spear, or at least holding pressure on the spear, we see the spear start to get like glowing red hot, to the point where at one point I almost wondered if it was going to either bend or break in half. It was looking like it was starting to get a little wobbly, but somehow he must have pushed it back just in time so that it stayed in one piece, because it never did break.
Yeah, and it would have been kind of cool to see a dual wielding Mando with the spear, but
I was kind of hoping for that too.
maybe another time. Mando does best Gideon. He knocks the darksaber out of his hand, and Gideon knows right away that Mando is not going to kill him. He even mentions like how he's going to have mercy to him. But there's a reason why he didn't kill him. And the reason why was Bo-Katan, wanted to kill him herself, and Cara wanted to bring him in alive to the Republic. So he really had his hands tied there.
Yeah, so he brings him prisoner and takes Grogu with him, right, up to the main deck where they find Bo-Katan and everybody else. And Bo-Katan sees him with the dark saber in his hand, with the blade out, actually, for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe just as protection against Gideon. And she goes, "Well, what happened?" And everybody thinks it's like, well, why was Gideon down there or something like that. But we find out something really important about that dark saber, besides the fact that whoever has it rules Mandalore.
Yeah, and what's important is because, like we said a second ago, Mando doesn't care about the darksaber. He doesn't want it. But Bo-Katan does. And he was basically like, here, take it. I don't want it. And Gideon explains that it has to be won in battle, like a legitimate battle. And if Bo-Katan were to take it from Mando and be the ruler of Mandalore, she would basically be seen as a fraud if any of them had said something, because she could live a lie if she wanted to. But
I don't think that that's true for that very last little piece, because I think the Darksaber will only extend if you're the person in control of it.
well, yeah, if you're holding it, it will.
No. I think it's if you're the one that won it. So if he gave it to her, she'd be able to hold it, but the blade would never extend.
I have to look into that.
That's what I interpreted it as. Is that's why you'd be a pretender.
We'll have to see. We'll look into that. But yeah, that's a big important piece to it, because that means there's a conflict between Bo-Katan and Mando now. Unfortunately, in this episode, that does not get resolved. So I'm gonna say stick this or look forward to season 3. Maybe that'll be.
Yeah, they didn't even really have any kind of intimidation, or she didn't seem upset at Mando or anything like that. I was kind of surprised that that part of the story just got sidestepped, and they don't go back to it at all for the rest of the episode. It's just kind of a to be continued as far as that piece of the story.
Well, that'd be
part of that.
They didn't have much time to think about it.
Right. But I was just going to say part of that is because all of a sudden they hear on the control panel that somebody's entering the ship. How many life forms? 0. It's the Dark Troopers coming back. And there were way more than I thought that there were. I thought there was maybe 20, and I swear we saw like 50 of them show up. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Well, there was 2 sets of them at least that boarded. They came from both sides of the ship. I want to say, though, like to your comment, I want to say there was more than what was in that that one room that Mando opened up. There's got to be, because in that room it looked like there was about 20 of them, like you said, but they definitely came from somewhere else. Maybe there's another section of the ship or something. Who knows? But yeah, they are backed into that main room, the commanding room. The bridge. That's what you call it. They're sitting there at the bridge. They don't know what to do. And these troopers get in the ship. They get to the bridge where the door is. And essentially what they do is they're like punching the door, trying to break it through. It's not the most effective thing. It definitely takes a lot of time. So they're kind of sitting there wondering, what are we going to do? And Gideon, makes his comment of, well, I'm going to be the only one and the child that gets out of here alive. Kind of a thing. And I can't remember if this happens before or after he tries to make a move, but we do see a ship come across in the background. It's familiar. Cara Dune says that there's an X-Wing approaching. If you look closely, there's an astromech in the back of it. I don't think you could really tell what color it was, though. But you can see there's an astromech in the back of the X-Wing. But what does Gideon do? What does he try to do, I should say?
Well, he sees that everybody's distracted with these dark troopers, and I don't know either if it was before or after the X-Wing pulled up, but everybody's distracted, so he tries to take a blaster and basically try to kill everybody off, which, of course, he's not successful with. Mando dives in front of the child, so he can't shoot at the child, and Bo-Katan, or not Bo, I'm sorry, right before he tries to kill himself, realizing everybody has their guns on him like that, Cara Dune knocks the gun out of his hand and then just knocks him out with, I don't know, a punch or an arm swipe or something. So he's out cold the rest of the episode.
Looked like a solid elbow. She dropped that. But we eventually get to look at the monitor of this guy or this being, I should say, gets out of that X-Wing. Grogu is very interested in what's going on with that screen. I think at one point he's like trying to put his hand up to it. Kind of like what a kid might do to a TV if their favorite show is on, where they try to, be one with their show.
I wondered if maybe he was using the Force to tell whoever was there where he was, like to try to help guide them.
It could have been, or at least exert some sort of force power. That way this person could feel the force coming from a certain spot.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, all we've seen is it's somebody in a Jedi robe, so you can't see their face or anything, any part of their body really. We see a lightsaber come out, and they're taking out these dark troopers left and right with a lightsaber. Eventually, we see that it's a green lightsaber, so that made me think, okay, it's probably not Ahsoka, because I wondered if maybe it would have been Ahsoka coming to save them.
There's one more thing that was kind of a good hint.
We saw the green lightsaber first, and that was our first clue. And then the second clue, that was very important too, and you recognize that right away.
Yeah, his hands were different colors. His left hand was like this, like with skin, flesh, and his right hand was black. And there's a reason for that, because his right hand had a glove on. And as we all know, who has a green lightsaber and has a black glove over his right robotic hand, and
pilots an X-Wing.
Yeah, and pilots an X-Wing, has an astromech best friend. We soon find out as he gets closer and closer and wipes out all these dark troopers. He gets closer and closer to the bridge, and I think Mando knows. He recognizes the lightsaber, I'm assuming, because Ahsoka had one. And he tells the crew, Bo-Katan, Kara, whoever was going to do it, to open up the doors, and they said no. So he goes and does it himself, forget what they want. And he opens up the doors. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, I don't think it was that they were trying to be mean or like that they were trying to kill whoever it was. I think they were just scared of whoever it was. Like, are you crazy? Like, don't open the door. We're safe in here,
Right. Yeah, I wasn't saying they were just being like, hey, we're not going to do what you want to do, kind of a thing. But yeah, so he opens the door, and here's this figure. And the first thing he does, he turns off his lightsaber, and there's another hint at who it could be before he finally takes off the hood, and his lightsaber hilt is the one that matches Luke Skywalker. So when there's another thing. What's that?
I was going to say you missed another one of your clues.
There was another hint. So if you're kind of a sound nerd like myself, the blade matched Luke Skywalker's lightsaber from episode 6.
The noise.
Yeah, the noise. Like the hum, the noises it made when it clashed, all that good stuff. It all matched and lined up to Luke. So kudos to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni that were in charge of this. Thank you for getting the right sound effects. You should contact Hasbro and get their Black Series lightsabers fixed. Please and thank you, PSA announcement. So Luke Skywalker pulls back his hood, and this guy, it makes me very excited because this guy looks like Luke Skywalker. That was super important. He sounds like Luke Skywalker, which completely opens up the door to what's coming in the future. They finally have somebody that they can use as Luke. They have somebody that was Han Solo. They just gotta probably age him a little bit if they want to put some more things in this time frame. And I don't know what they're gonna do about Leia. They might use Carrie Fisher's daughter, but she's already a Star Wars character, so they might have to CGI her a little bit. But anyways, back to the story. Luke basically says that he's there for the child. Mando knows that very well. That Grogu should go with a Jedi. I thought he had said something where he was like, he doesn't want to leave you or something like that. Like he recognizes the connection between Mando and Grogu.
I don't know who said it, but somebody said that Grogu was having a hard time leaving. And when Luke first came in, I thought it was really cute how Mando's first question was, "Are you a Jedi?" Because everybody, in the audience, obviously we all know that Luke's a Jedi, so that was kind of funny, but a serious question if you don't know who Luke Skywalker is. So authentic. But Luke makes a comment about how he'll do his best and put his life, Grogu's life first, and basically would die for Grogu. But Grogu's never going to be fully safe until he masters his powers. So Luke's wanting to take him in to train him, which makes me wonder if, and you mentioned this too, so I'm not going to take all the credit. This was a joint effort here. But if maybe we're going to see next season some snippets of Luke's training camp where we know that he had trained Kylo Ren at one point, and I don't know where in the timeline this is going to be. Maybe it's before Kylo's born or Kylo's an infant, so he doesn't really isn't part of the story, or maybe he's like, he can't be that old, so maybe like, I don't know, around 10 or something like that. I don't know.
Enough to be in training.
What makes you say that?
Because they had kids that were like 5 years old at the Jedi Temple in the prequels.
Oh, no, I just didn't know where in the timeline this was exactly compared to Kylo.
I think it's going to be it's got to be around like 7 or 8 years after episode 6. And there's 30 years in between 6 and 7. So
that tells me he might not be born yet, because I don't think Kylo's that old. I would say maybe 30.
I have no idea how old he is, but it's got to be getting close.
Somewhere in there.
I wouldn't put it past them to do, well, we'll get into speculation at the end of this. We'll talk about what we think might happen.
Yeah, but so there's a little back and forth, a little father-son bonding of you got to go with him, and we all know that he's having a hard time accepting this. And something really interesting happened, which was that while Mando's holding him, he takes off his helmet and sets it on the floor because Grogu had like touched his helmet. You could tell he was trying to touch his face, so he took off the helmet so Grogu could actually touch his face. So that was a very powerful moment, I think, because we know how he feels about taking off his helmet. We know in the last episode he did it because he needed to have his face scanned. But that was kind of like supposed to be a one-time exception, like nobody else knows about it. So for him to openly do it in this room full of people, especially Bo-Katan, where he's been like, you're showing your face, you're not a Mandalorian. And now he's doing it in front of her, and he's got his back to her, so it's not like she can see a whole lot. But it's just a very interesting point in the episode.
It's I'm not crying, you're crying moment.
Yep, we do see Mando's got some tears in his eyes. He's sad. But Grogu goes off, and I think what makes him approach Luke is actually we see another friend show up. R2-D2.
Yeah, we get the confirmation that the astromech in the back of the X-Wing was in fact R2-D2.
Yeah, and so he's making all kinds of noises, and Grogu's immediately drawn to him, kind of like if you have a kid that really likes pets or dogs or something like that, and so the dog's being all cute, R2's being all cute, so of course Grogu's going to go over and check him out.
It made me wonder if when R2 first saw him, if R2 was like, oh, here we go again, because in episode 5, he had a fight with Yoda where Yoda was trying to steal a little lamp and R2 grabbed it and they were going back and forth. Yoda was like smacking him with his cane, trying to tell him to give it to Yoda, and Luke had finally said, just give it up, R2. So when he saw that species again, which was probably like the second time he's ever seen that species in his, well, no, he might have saw Yaddle at one point, but Anyways, he looks like Yoda, so maybe it means trouble in the future. Yeah, that was the end. He
I
walked.
was just gonna say that's basically the end of the episode is them going away and Mando just kind of looking off and saying waving goodbye and saying goodbye and that was basically it.
Yeah, that's the end of the Mandalorian season 2. Is Luke walking away with Grogu. We get one little snippet at the end, which was pretty interesting because it had some credits, and then there was another scene. And as far as I know, it was the only time so far in The Mandalorian at all that we had an after credit scene. And it's a panning shot on Tatooine, and it goes over to Jabba's palace. Now we all know that Jabba's dead. He blew up on his sail barge. But the person on Jabba's throne, which mind you, the palace is kind of empty compared to what we saw in episode 6. But the person on the throne is Bib Fortuna. If you remember who that is Jabba the Hutt's assistant, basically. He was the one that, if someone was at the door, he went to go get them. Or if Jabba needed something, either translation or little errands to run, that was the guy that did it. He definitely looks a bit bigger. He looks like he's becoming a Hutt compared to where he was in episode 6. But we get 2 characters that walk in the room. Who are these 2 characters, Sarah?
Well, I'm pretty sure we saw the shadow of Boba first. At least that's what it looked like to me. But Fennec is actually the first one to walk in, and so she is just shooting up whoever she sees, except for one Twi'lek slave girl who's on a chain, much like Leia was back in episode 6. So she shoots the chain to let that girl go and kind of waves her away because she doesn't want to. She's got nothing to do with this stuff. And then behind her, Boba walks in, and so then they have a little back and forth there of oh, I thought you were dead, I'm so glad to see you alive, whatever, like trying to be happy, cheery, and Boba's just not having it.
Yeah, because
he guns him down. What?
They left him for dead. Like they knew he went in the Sarlacc and they just left.
Mm. Yep, so Boba guns him down and pushes him off the throne. And oddly enough, then Boba sits on the throne, and Fennec grabs some weird blue drink from back behind the throne and kind of like leans up against the throne, drinking her blue drink. I would assume it's some form of alcohol or equivalent. And that was the end of that scene, minus one little snippet of text that said the Book of Boba Fett, December 2021. So that was a preview for the new Boba Fett series.
I did not see the date. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, here we go. We're gonna get some more Star Wars rolling out here. It makes me wonder if we look at today's date being the 18th, was the Mando finale. I wonder if they're gonna do Mando and then right after that Boba will roll out.
It might be. That'd be really cool. I'm all for more Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know when the Bad Batch comes out. I don't know when the next Star Wars series comes out. I want to say it's the Bad Batch, but we got a lot.
I've heard of that one, so I don't know.
A lot of Star Wars coming in the future. So, a little bit of speculation time. Based off this episode, there's a couple different things that can happen. The thing that makes me wonder the most is, are they going to get to the point with this series where they get to the event where Kylo destroys Luke's temple? Because if it does, maybe Grogu is there. How does he get out? Does Mando return and save him? Does Kylo kill him? Is that how he exits the series? A lot of speculation there. Also, I know it hasn't been announced, but another thing that I would really want, Disney, if you're listening, is now that you're really starting to establish these people, Shadows of the Empire, make it happen, please.
Is that your Christmas wish?
Yeah, Christmas wish. Lucasfilm, you know, you made a video game, you made a soundtrack, you made a comic book, a novel, action figures, everything except for a movie. Do it. What do you think will happen?
I think the thing that I'm most interested in finding out about what happens is going to be what happens with the dark saber, because Mando did not kill Gideon to take it. He just overthrew him, right? He had him by spear point at the neck. So Bo-Katan does not have to kill Mando to get the dark saber, but they have to have like a fair fight where she actually wins. So I don't know if maybe it could be as simple as, all right, let's have a fight, but I'm not wearing my armor, which makes him super vulnerable, which would make it easier for her to win. Um, where he could actually defend himself, but she would have a chance at winning. Or if maybe they'll just have like a montage of them fighting back and forth, much like we've seen Jedi training montages, except it'd be these two fighting. And she's just over and over and over trying to win and learn his weaknesses so that she can try to take the darksaber from him. Because I don't think she's going to kill him to get it. We've already learned you don't have to kill him to get it. So how is that going to play out? How is she going to get it? Or is somebody else going to take it? And she might not get the chance.
Yeah, it does really make me wonder because they know it almost seems like she has to kill him because we know that, you know, they don't have to, but he just did something where he was going to hand it to her where she didn't have to kill him. It almost seems like that's the only option.
Well, in that case, he had said, I yield, here you go. Like, basically, I forfeit. And so I think it's not that he has to die. I think it's just that he can't give up. It has to be like a legit fight, like where he's actually trying to best her and she's trying to best him, which I see that a lot more as like, you think military, okay, one person trying to kill the other. You think like wrestling and it's one person trying to best the other, or boxing or whatever, like you're trying to um, get the opponent in some sort of a position or situation where they cannot escape, and you are the better man. So that's how I see it, as far as I don't think he has to die for her to get it.
Well, I don't think so either. I just feel like it'll be very hard to fake. Like, what are they gonna do? Arm wrestle or something? Because that's the only way they could like really try and best somebody else without it being fake. It's like if they did what is it, WWF thing where they plan it out where whoever's gonna win and then just show.
Think more like boxing. You aren't trying to kill the other person in boxing, but you are trying to pin them down to the point where they cannot escape. Or they're in a position where it's either, all right, you die or you give up.
I could see that, but Mando doesn't care.
Well, he'd have to care.
Why would he care? He just tried to give it to her.
Because he knows that she wants it, so he's going to give her a fair fight. It's my idea.
I'm just saying.
I'm allowed to have my own speculation here.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just saying. It's very confusing. Like what they did in the show, it makes you wonder how they're gonna conclude that. One thing's for sure, Darth Maul probably won't come back because for those of you that have watched Clone Wars and Rebels, you know that he had the darksaber at one point and ruled Mandalore. So it'd be cool to see him come back, but I really don't think they should. He's been revived too many times. But yeah, that some good speculation. Like I said, Disney has so many options now that there are finally getting some people that can play the original characters. I wouldn't put it past them where the next movie that comes out is called Rogue Squadron. he might be Luke in that movie, because we all know that Luke is a part of Rogue Squadron. Although they did announce that the movie is going to be solely based around new characters, but he could be one of the commanders. What's your rating? What would you rate the episode? We did not discuss these.
I think I would give it a 9, and here's why. I really liked it. I liked the twist that they had with the Darksaber, where Mando got it but didn't want it and wasn't able to give it away like he thought he was going to be able to, and that for whatever reason Bo never told everybody that that's why she wanted to be the one to take out Gideon. I thought that they did a really good job with Luke and making him look like himself and sound like himself, and kicking butt, taking out those dark troopers, and we got to see R2 again. My one complaint, and this is why it's a 9 and not a 10, is how they ended the very end of the episode. And what I mean by that is not so much that Grogu's going with Luke. I think that's fine. That makes sense. But it's really more or less the tone. Not the sadness, because that makes sense too, but more so the it seems like an abrupt stop. Like there's no resolution at all to the people there, as far as Fennec leaving with Boba, as far as Bo-Katan trying to figure out, like, even just like a one-liner of like, I'm gonna get that Darksaber or something along those lines. Really anything to kind of tie up any of those loose ends. Kara saying something about like, all right, let's get you to custody, saying that to Gideon, who's knocked out, or anything at all, really. It just seemed like it was kind of done. So I wish that just had like one little tiny more bit to the end of the episode just to kind of wrap it up, because of it being a season finale, and we won't get any more until next year. But aside from that, I loved it, and so I'm at a strong 9.
Yeah, we really haven't talked about decimals too much, but I think I'm at a 9.5. It's kind of tough to say, but I was the 0.5 worth disappointed. And the reason why, there's 2 reasons. One, I felt like it wasn't quite epic enough from what I was hoping it to be. But
you built your hopes up high.
Reason number 2 is the reason why, though. Reason number 2 is basically Gideon. It seemed like he had a couple stormtroopers and the dark troopers. Like that ship almost seemed like it was empty. I don't understand why that cruiser, especially with somebody as important as Gideon, would be so empty. Maybe it's because the Empire's, run thin. That's possible, but something just wasn't quite there. It seemed to be very, very similar to the Rise of Skywalker. Like when they crashed the ship, the Lambda shuttle, and then they rushed out and shot up all the stormtroopers. That was in Rise of Skywalker, so I recognized that right away. Not to say that there was a different way they could have done it, but I just wanted something a little more fresh, exciting, so to speak. I know a lot of people complained about that in the Rise of Skywalker, of why does that work, so to speak, when they should have been full of troopers. But adding Luke was super cool. Just like how you had said, it's really, really nice that they found someone that looks and sounds just like him. That's important. They don't have to de-age Mark Hamill, for the rest of his life. They are setting things up to be an interesting potential season 3, or not potential because they are making season 3, but we really don't know what season 3 is going to be. We kind of had an idea where season 2 was going from the end of season 1. Like he knew that Grogu had to be with his people, but honestly, I don't know where this is going to go. They're probably, Cara Dune can take Gideon to the New Republic. Luke is taking Grogu. Mando has a conflict with Bo-Katan, so maybe it's going to take place on Mandalore a lot more. Maybe there's going to be a lot of conflict on that planet. Maybe with the government system. Maybe they actually do try to see if he can just hand it off. Who knows? I just feel like there's a lot of loose ends in this one. It wasn't, like you said, quite the satisfactory end to the season, even though it was pretty epic seeing Luke slash through all those people, all those droids. Sorry. Yeah, I'm at a 9. Huh?
He killed it.
Yeah, he did kill it. Oh, one other thing that we had mentioned when we were watching the show, we kind of had a little bit of a back and forth with it. There was one of the dark troopers that Luke, put up his hand and basically like crushed him. So we know about force choke. There's also one called force grip, which you can see that in the video games, for example, in Jedi Outcast and Jedi Knight and all that good stuff, which force grip is just a more, I don't know, probably politically correct term for force choke. Luke did do that. We saw it on screen. So it makes me curious if he has a little more of that potential dark side force powers he can tap into. I don't think he's going to be using force lightning or anything like that, but it does make me wonder, if he learned a couple things from what mostly dark side users would use.
Yeah, it was the very last Dark Trooper too, so it wasn't like, all right, I'm doing this to get him out of the way because I'm at the beginning of a big battle. It was the last one. So it was really more, I think, for fun than for purpose.
Yeah, which might be just something that they did for, this whole speculation purpose. Maybe that was intentional and they want people to be like, oh, wait, what did you just do? Kind of a thing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's exciting to me. Growing up, I liked Luke a lot, and then I switched over to the dark side and enjoying them a bit more. But this episode really brought Luke back, I think, in my opinion. I feel like Luke was mistreated immensely in the sequel trilogy. And I'm really hoping that with this, they start showing us what we know and believe Luke Skywalker to be. Anything else about the episode?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, sounds good. This is our final one for season 2, everybody. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Drop us a like if you like this video. And drop us a comment letting us know what you think is in the future of The Mandalorian. Is it going to split up? Is that what all these new series were announced for with the Disney investor call, where they talked about all the different Star Wars projects that are coming? What do you think is going to be with the Boba Fett series? Is he going to basically be the man in charge and ordering people around? Or do you think that's just basically his new home and he's going to still live out his bounty hunter life? Who knows? Let us know. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.